The message you're about to hear will position you to live life to the fullest with actionable insights and strategies. Now, Abraham Owoseni.
Okay, thank you so much for having me. I want to appreciate everyone who has made out time to be here. I know how busy our schedule is, and especially at this time of the hour of the day is a rush hour time. Thank you so much for making our time, right? So I'm just going to dive right in. This is the CEO conference, and I'll be taking this second leg today. We had a session earlier by around 3 p.m. West African time. So I'm just going to be diving in. I'll be sharing with us in the next couple of minutes on the new flex, right? The new flex work-life balance for entrepreneurs, right? I will be sharing with these, and I want us to please make this very engaging. You will pick one or two, three things that you will find helpful in your journey. So please try to see if you can turn away distractions around you, and this will be great. Well, I've always been around women, so yeah, I'm the only boy. I'm the only boy. Amongst my siblings, and I've always been around women. I grew up with women, so I am used to how women think, personality of women, and all of that. So, and I'm used to that, thanks to the siblings and the women and female siblings. God bless my family with, right. My wife also, of course, I'm married, like good luck shared. And it's been a journey, understanding and working with women. I know there's a whole lot about women, especially women who do a whole lot of things involved in business, involved in different professional endeavors. I mean, I respect and honor women. You can feel my pulse for that, right? And so I'm always glad when I have an opportunity to share anything that has to do with women, right? Let me share a quick about myself and why you should actually listen to this session. For me, most times I used to say that I'm passionate about three things. These are three things that actually keep the blood in my vein literally flowing. Right? I'm passionate about young people, right? How they transition to adulthood. That's youth development, right? And I found that the current educational development of young people is not holistic enough, so they are deficient in other areas of life. Although they go to school, but they are not skilled in other areas. I finished the first class. I used my sense, but I later found out that I still couldn't find my essence until the fourth year, about to get out of school, before I actually found my essence. I've summarized this gap I found in the development of young people into a life skills gap. As a result, I've devoted the rest of my life to equipping young people with life skills based education, as UNICEF calls it. And so you find that the bulk of the work I do is all dovetailed into human capital development, right? And I do that with various expressions. I do that in the higher education space. I do that also by running an edtech, platform that equips young people with the mindset and the skill sets they need for productivity. I also do that running a non-profit that runs across the continent, building children and development centers as learning environments for the holistic development of young people. So this is really what I do and why I do what I do. And because of this, there's a whole lot to demands on my time. There's a whole lot demand across various spheres of life, and I'll just be sharing some principle based and practical based measures I've engaged that I know will also help all of the women on this call, right? So, like I shared, this is why I do what I do. This is my life mission. Raising young people and molding minds is why I do what I do. Now, I mean, there are many industrial attestations to what I do, but I'm just going to skip and move straight into my next slide, which is what you will gain when we're done with this session. After this session, guess what's going to happen? After this session, you would have acquired the right knowledge. Right? There's something about knowledge. We live in a knowledge economy, right? We can get knowledge every single day from almost anywhere, but not all forms of knowledge is the right knowledge. Not all forms of knowledge is the right knowledge. So, how do you get the right methodical knowledge in the right sequence? And you'll be able to also translate that into skills, practical skills, and behavioral attitude that will actually help you to achieve harmony. I'm going to share with you about harmony shortly and boost productivity. Who is interested in this? If you want me to go, I put in the chat box. Yes, yes, yes. Please let me know if you want me to go ahead. I'm going to be watching the chat box right now. If you want me to go ahead in the chat, please put it. Let's see there. Let's see that how many persons want me to go ahead on sharing on this. Let me see in the chat box. Put a yes in the chat box, and then I'll proceed on this. Let me know if I should just pack my bag and then be going. Right? Who wants me to continue on this? Put a yes in the chat if you can. Um, who wants me? I see a yes. Thank you so much for that. Wemi, thank you. Thank you, Luisa, for that. Fantastic. So let's make progress on this. Now, I need to say this caveat. Minds are like parachutes. They only work best when they are open, right? I know you've been in several sessions, women, capacity events, women entrepreneurial events where perhaps, something around it has been shared. But again, if you must get the best value from this conversation we're having today, I want you to still have an open heart, right? Be receptive to it so that you can get the best value, right? Now, I know as women, right, there's a whole lot to us. Apart from the stereotypes that society, plays around with women, women are. I mean, people think that women are the weaker vessels. I beg to disagree. Women are so full of power, full of strength. The strength of a woman. I was in the bathing room with my wife when we were about having our second son, and I saw the strength of a woman, right? I held the hands of my wife, and I could see how tenacious they were, and the passion, the courage, this inner strength. And not to talk of that alone, talk about the prayer of maternity and raising a child. The strength that a woman has is unfathomable, right? And you know coupled with work responsibility, coupled with demands for a number of women who run businesses, for those who work in organizations, contributing great value and leading great teams. I mean, women are a blessing. I mean, women are a blessing. Because of my experience growing up with women, I've made this as one of my life commitment to always honor a woman. I see a woman at the doorstep, wherever, honoring women. And that's why I want to honor every single one person, a woman who is on this call today. Thank you so much for this. Now, there's a lot about women, and there's a lot about the responsibility required, and all of that. A woman is carrying a baby, a woman is, how do you balance all of these through? Whether you are, currently married, or you are married, or you run a business, or you even don't run a business, whatever expression you have, what about? And so, today there's a lot of strain on the women gender and even on the men gender. But let's zero down on the women gender, for example. My wife was telling me one time after, a long time of expressing her breast milk of how she needed to eat because she was tired. There's a lot of strain on women, right? And sometimes, movies paint to us that, well, as a woman, all a man just wants from you is sex. But that's not even the case, because as a woman, there are times you are tired. I give my wife a sign. She says, "Can we have it another time? Can we rest now? What about if we wake up this other time?" Because women need to rest. And so there's a lot about it. Sometimes you don't even feel the appetite to eat. How do you balance all these things, and how do you overcome this strain that comes? How do you do that? People on the outside see the great success. They see the great businesses you are leading. They see the great organizations and the great value you are bringing on board. They see all the amazing work. But guess what? Just like an iceberg, they are not seeing all of the in-betweens. They're not seeing the persistence. They're not seeing your dedication. They're not seeing how you are trying to, juggle a whole lot of things together. They're not seeing how you are still replying that mail while you're expressing the milk. They're not seeing why you are trying to, do some school run, pick the child. They're not seeing how you're trying to do a whole lot. Some women, invest a whole lot in making good meals for the family. Nobody's seen all of that. I mean, there's a lot about what we do, but most people do not know. And for us as women, we want to ask ourselves, how can we, get this all through without, experiencing strain and breakdowns? So I want to ask you, I want you to look at these two images quickly. Look carefully at these two images. One is A, the second is B. And I want to ask you, please put in the chat box, who is in real motion? Is it A or the person in B? Think about it. Who is in real motion? Who is in real motion? Put in the chat, please. Let me begin to see responses. I see B. Thank you for that. Who is in real motion? Remember, no answer is wrong, so please feel free. Who is in real motion? Who is in real motion? Please put in the chat. Let's get to hear from everybody. Who is in real motion? A or B? I see B again. Thank you for that. Is in well, who else is in real motion? Think about it. Think about it. Okay, fantastic. So far we've gotten. I mean, what I want someone to be. Thank you. Mary says B as well. Wow. I want someone to actually be disruptive. Why can't you choose A? But now let's just think about it together carefully. We can actually say both of them are emotion, right? But one is in actually in a real motion. The first in A is in motion, but the motion is just about oscillation. There is no progress in itself, but this person is actually in motion. You can imagine this person goes to work every single day, gets tired, sweats a lot, and someone gets to ask, how was work today? He said, well, wow, it was so busy. It was hectic. You can imagine. And is in motion. The challenge about the motion of this person in A is that it's just oscillating around an orbit, but it's not actually progressive motion. And you look at the flip side of it, the person on B is not just moving, but it's a progressive motion, irrespective of the hurdles that come the way, climbing, getting on, irrespective of the demands, still moving on, thriving, which is what every one woman is doing today, thriving irrespective of it, showing up every day, showing up and adding real value to people, to systems, to places, to organizations, to lives. Wow. If you can, give yourself a big round of applause, everyone, woman. I'm celebrating you again and again and again. Women are in real motion. However, not all women are in real motion. Not all women are in real motion. Some are in some form of motion like A, and some are in B. How do you know which one are in? Now, why I share that is simple. Life is actually a journey. I'm going to show you the connection shortly. Life is a journey, right? So it's not just about what you're doing, the businesses you're running, the organizations you are leading, the places you're working. It's not just about that alone. The main question is, where actually are you going? Where are you heading to on this journey? So every single day you wake up and you are showing up in some task. Like I shared when I started, every single day I'm showing up and seeing how can I raise another life today. How can I mold the minds of some other people today? How can I contribute to human capital development today? How can I contribute to youth development today? So every single day I'm waking up and I'm asking myself, why am I doing what I'm doing? And so like some people, a day like today is the happiest day of the week. Oh, TGIF gang, you understand what I'm saying? Thank God. And they see the weekend so long, and sometimes Monday morning, it came so fast. But what makes you showing up every single day? This is what makes you show up every single day. When you see life as a journey and you have a compelling destination that propels you towards that journey, irrespective of the others, right? So that destination is a big picture you have about life. It's a big picture that propels you every single day. And that is actually what ties everything together. And so, although many people base a whole lot of concerns, they focus on the concerns, right? Picture it, for example, you're actually hungry, right? And then you go into a restaurant, and then suddenly, what do you notice? What do you notice? Who can share an experience? What do you notice? You go into a restaurant, you're actually hungry. Once you step into the restaurant, what happens? You suddenly get hungrier. Or for example, you actually want to just use the restroom. But as you are approaching the entrance of the restroom, your bladder seems like it just got fuller. What happens? What happens is that whatever we focus on grows bigger. That's the power of focus. Now, because of the strain that comes from not being able to get everything together, we get to sometimes focus on the challenges. We get to focus on the areas that are suffering, and sometimes that focus takes us away from what is working. For example, we're at this time of the year and people are saying, oh, what is working? Oh, what is not working? And many people are saying, well, many things are not working. But what actually happened is that they are taking the focus to what is not working, and that is magnifying what is not working as against the many other things that are working. That's the power of focus, right? But you need to focus on the right thing. Now, here's the crux of our matter. Think about it. Balance or harmony? Balance or harmony? I know my topic talks about work-life balance, but I want us to think about it. Is it balance or harmony? Yeah, think about it. Balance or harmony. This is something striking and this is something very delicate. But what I want you to go with me. Let's go together on this. So, for example, this is what they want us to achieve. They want us to achieve balance, right? Everything together, everything at the same level, everything working perfectly, equally, right? Equity, great. But unfortunately, this is what we get. One area is perhaps suffering, the other area is bubbling, as the case may be. It's just like a seesaw, right? One is high, the other one is low, and you really can't achieve a 50-50 balance. And so this is my perspective to the narrative around balance and work life and all of that, right? Well, this is what I introduce. I call it harmony. Harmony talks about alignment. Harmony talks about agreement, right? And so rather than trying to, forcing one's way to, getting everything together at the same level, everything, it's a daunting task. But this is one you can actually achieve quickly. You can achieve harmony. Harmony talks about alignment. So look at an automobile, for example. Imagine you want to get the air in the tire of the automobile at the same, amount of air. Sometimes, if you go to a vulcanizer, it tries to check it through and it tries to gauge the air in the tire and says, oh, this is actually is not balanced, this is not balanced, and tries to just gauge them. You drive some kilometers again, you try to gauge it, you find out that all the four tires are actually not balanced again, right? And you have to stop, do some gauges randomly, and once a while. Now, but the emphasis is not even about the balance, because almost you may not always get the same amount of air equally in all the four tires at the same time. However, the automobile gives an advantage where you can achieve harmony. Without harmony, the vehicle will never be in motion. And our goal, remember when we started, our goal is to be in progressive motion towards the big picture, towards the big destination, irrespective of the orders. So, for example, you have two tires. Perhaps you're using a front wheel vehicle, and then you have two tires, right? But these two tires can't drive you to wherever you're going. These two tires, some people prioritize work and say work is the main thing about life. My job, my career is the main thing. Fantastic. But those tires alone can't drive your entire life. And some say, well, for me, it's work and family. All other things, that's not my priority. Again, those two can drive life in itself. Look at the vehicle, for example. Some vehicles are four-wheeled vehicle, some are six, some are eight. Just imagine, for example, life. Life has about eight-wheeled vehicle. So the two vehicles alone cannot propel this vehicle. What we need is that we need other tires to come. The third tire comes, and the third tire is not forming a new life of his own. Some people tell me, I'm interacting with some young adults and saying, well, Dr. Abraham is just my life. I just want to do it the way I want. This is, I asked the guy the other time, when are you getting married? He said, no, so that's not my thinking right now. It's not my focus, right? And I was telling him, oh, hey, guy, let's talk about it. Think about it this way. It's not about your marital life is not a separate area of your life. Your marital life is your life. It's inside your life. Right? So it's not another area of life. Okay, when I'm now this age and I now think about this life. No, it is life in itself. Everything is working together in harmony. And so you find out that all the wheels, all the vehicles come in together. When they come in, they are not forming a new destination. They are not forming a new journey. They are only working, propelling in the same direction of the front wheel. They are working in the same progression. And as the front wheel moves, the rear follows, all of the ones follow, and everything is just in harmony. So it's not that the front wheel is going forward, the back one is going backwards. No, motion will never achieve that way. For motion to be achieved, they work in harmony, in synergy, in alignment. This is the new narrative about work that I share. Now, let me paint this picture clearly more. So, for example, imagine about you have a six-wheeled vehicle or an eight-wheeled vehicle, which is the entirety about our life. When you zero into a wheel, the wheel of pick one of the wheels of the vehicle, for example, you have this, you have various sectors connected to the main hub, right? Now, the hub in itself tells us why you're doing every single thing. So why you're waking up every single day, why you are showing up, why you're building up a family, why are you doing every single thing you're doing? The hub is the reason for what you're doing. It's easy for you to, when you get to you're getting a networking event, and then this high network event, you meet different people and you're just trying to network with people, and then someone is saying, okay, so what do you do? Well, I'm a banker. I mean, I'm, I work with XYZ Bank, and fantastic. How about you? And then, it's the one of the first things we easily get to say, including myself, is what we do. But most times, it's not just about what we do, because that in itself is just a label, it's just a job title. The main emphasis is, why do you do what you do? So I could have several expressions to why I do what I do, but the emphasis more is why I do what I do, why I do what I do. So I'm living to raise young people and mold minds. Oh, how do I do what I do? Oh, great. I do this across the spheres of education and youth development. Oh, great. Tell me more about it. Oh, well, we've been building children and youth development centers across the world. We have 3 centers currently in Africa. And, I'm just explaining more. That sounds more interesting, right? Think about it. And then actually I can now dovetail to explain more that I do that through, as an educator, as a life coach. I do that, as a speaker and a trainer on life skills. I consult for organizations and those who work with young people, about helping them maximize the life skills and all the in-between skills beyond non-technical skills. Right? Think about it. Now let's go back to this. This is the hub. If you have the hub defined, the hub is why you're doing what you're doing. If you have the hub defined, every other area of life simply goes around that hub. Every area of life simply revolves in harmony to that hub. Every area. So this area is not disjointed to its own. They are connected to the hub. One time, when I was in high school, my father and I, we had this, agreement. We arrived at, and he said to me, "If you were first in class, I'm going to buy you a bicycle." I mean, that was like, I was very excited about it. But if I've shared my story before, perhaps maybe those who have been under my session might have had this story before. That my teacher once actually named me a slow learner in school. Back in primary school. But I got into junior secondary, and things started changing. And so my father wanted to compensate me and said, "Hey, bro, if you come first in class, I'm going to get you a bicycle." I said, "Oh, fantastic! That's a great deal." And then eventually I came first in class, and he bought me this bicycle. But I never knew how to ride a bicycle. So because of that, I needed to first use my bicycle to learn how to ride a bicycle before riding it across town. So I had to fall stand. I knew every part of the bicycle. I knew the all of the crank, everything, the Allen key. I mean, I was actually fascinated about it. And one area of the bicycle that fascinated me so much was the wheel, right? And sometimes your spoke gets to remove. Sometimes I thought if 3 spokes were off, I could just continue still riding, not knowing that it would actually eventually affect my tire. So I go to the bicycle shop and say, "Please help me fix these spokes. 3 spokes I've removed." And then those spokes were just tiny metals, by the way. But those spokes were needed to be there if I must continue to enjoy the motion of my bicycle. Wow, that's how life is. And so every single area of life must be there if we must enjoy this supposed balance we want. But it's not just even about the balance, it's what I call harmony. So, for example, you talk about your spirituality. Your spirituality is not just about your religion. Your spirituality is just about the fact that you are actually a spirit being living on the earth. But because spirits don't live on the earth, you have a legal access to the earth, which is your body. So I can recognize you and say, "Oh, this is Stade, this is Good Luck, oh, this is Ezenwa, oh, this is, because of the body suit you have. But the real you is actually a spirit. That's why when a person, dies, his spirit goes back and then his body is buried. So the real person is actually not the body, but the spirit. So spirituality, most times people always think about it as religion, but spirituality talks about the fact that you can connect back to your source. With your spirit, just like a SIM card in a phone. The SIM card in a phone gives the opportunity for you to make calls, for you to be able to interact with people, for people to be able to hear you. And so you have that SIM card in your being, and that SIM card is your spirit that helps you to connect to your source. So you are getting ideas. People ask you in the board meeting and say, "Where did you get that from? Did you study somewhere?" No, it came in your spirit. So spirituality is just about not seeing your spirit man, your spirit being, so that you can continue to connect to your source. That's the whole context about spirituality. Amazing. So that's also one area of life that must be in harmony. So sometimes every single day I'm experiencing this. I get into the shower and I'm just trying to have a bath. And before I know it, I just have to quickly come out of the shower, write some things for 5 minutes, and inside I just come, they just dropped in my spirit. Or I'm driving, I have to just pull over and park by the road because I just needed to quickly document some things. I tried installing some apps the other time so that I need to just record my voice to document some insight as they come. It's because there's an harmony and synergy between your spirit and your real sense of being. Now, this other area of life is what I call academics. But people think academics is always about schooling. So because you are done from school, or you are not doing a postgraduate program, you're not doing an MBA, people think that's the whole context about academics. But the whole context about academics is not just about the formal schooling we got. The context about academic talks about that fact that, okay, on this journey you are in, what are you doing to ensure that you constantly are filled in your tank? So I'm constantly topping up, and that keeps me in motion. That is what academic talks about. And so we have concepts like lifelong learning, and all of that, continuous professional development, and all that, so that I can continue to top up. So every single day I'm learning. I'm learning generalized learning, specialized learning in the area of my leadership, in the area of my contribution, in what I'm leading. So I'm building my leadership footprint as a global leader, a global thought leader in education and youth development. So every single day, how can I improve myself? How can I be better? That is what academic talks about. So I'm not just studying anything. I'm not just reading anything. I'm looking for things. Is my studies in alignment? So I'm not just doing a program because I was asked to do it, or because that's the next in thing people say I should do, or people say get an MBA in Oxford or get this. No, I'm not. I'm not just doing it for that. I'm doing it because I need it on my journey. And when I start that kind of an academics, nobody needs to keep you encouraged. You are encouraged. There's harmony in that area. How about this one? Career. You know, career says, well, I'm not just doing anything because that's what I wanted to do, or because that's the job I got. And most times I used to say this, I may not have the whole of the time. I mean, that's a whole lot of work I do with career consulting. Career is not a job. I hear some people reading a profile, and then they say, oh, he started his career at XYZ, from there he moved to this. But you don't start your career in an organization. It's not the organization that starts the career, or an engagement that starts the career. And so it's not a job that starts the career. It's actually the career that starts the job. Just like can you imagine a tricycle towing a trailer? It's actually the trailer that can tow the tricycle. So inside your career are several jobs, several roles, several expressions of work you get to fulfill and do in your lifetime of the journey you are going to. So if I'm going on this journey, this was how I defined my career path. It was not about what I studied in school. I said to myself, well, this is where I'm going to, raising young people and molding minds, right? Okay, I don't just want to do any job that will be a strain on my life, that I will be thanking God every Friday alone. I want to thank God every single day. And I ask myself, okay, what kind of work can I do? If this is where I'm driving to, that means I shouldn't be doing a work going in the opposite direction. My work should be in sync, in harmony with where I'm driving to. And so, if this is where I'm driving to, then being an educator will help me to arrive there. Being a speaker will help me to arrive there. Being an author will help me to arrive there. Being a coach will help me to arrive there. Okay, great. I mean, and several ideas, businesses, social enterprises that come out from just such a clarity and definition about career. So imagine building your career with some of the mindset I just shared. There's going to be harmony. It's going to be in sync, right? Now I'm going to take 2, 3 more areas, and then I'm going to close this up. So what about emotional life? Emotional life says, well, if I must enjoy this journey and not have strain of mental health issue or depression issue, I need to understand my emotions first as a person. What are the triggers? What gets me happy? What gets me annoyed? Right? And if I understand my triggers, then I can be able to understand the emotions of other people. So as a leader in my business, I can, because I've mastered my emotion, right? That area of life is in harmony, right? So I don't yell out at colleagues, I don't yell out at team members, because I know what best will keep me in the right emotional frequency, right? So I can be able to deal with people with empathy, right? I have a better emotional social skills because of this area of life, right? And this moves me to the next one, social. Social now says, hey, well, I mean, can I just have any friend, or just roll with any person? Now this is an intentional one. So my friendship is not just built on proximity, because this person works in my organization, or we live close to the same area, or we attend the same organizations. No, I'm now saying that, hey, because my life is a journey, and this journey is time bound, I want to build such a cluster of people who will help me to get on my journey faster. So it's just like a bus heading a direction, and then the pilot yells out the destination. Oh, we're going to XYZ. And there are several people at the bus stop. I meet these people in events, in conferences, in workshops, in webinars, in trade fairs, in exhibitions, and different places. And then as I meet them, my role is to tell them, hey, this is where I'm going to. This is where I'm driving to. Just like that bus pilot would do. And then those who are going in a similar destination will up into the bus. Some will sit on the front row. Some will sit on the middle row. Some will sit at the back row. Right? So like an 80-seater bus, I have almost 18 close friends, 10 close friends, 5 close friends, 3 close friends who I'm building an affiliation with, not just by proximity alone, but because there's an harmony, there's a synergy with where they're going to, where I'm going to. This is amazing, right? So I have an array of acquaintances, unlimited, but I have limited number of friends. And so there's no friction in that area of life, right? Sometimes I'm learning something and I just share with 2, 3, friends in my cluster. I say, I just found this interesting. Check it out, right? They say, oh, thank you so much. They share with me as well. We are growing in synergy because my social life is not just, guess what happened when people don't master this area of life? People now get empty and then they try to look for events to make them filled up. So they go to clubs, they go to outings, they go just to see how can I get filled up. I'm lacking social friends, I'm lacking social network. But they still find out that doesn't solve the issue, because it's not just about the places to go to or the contacts alone, but are they in sync to where I'm driving to? This last area is the marital life, right? And so you know, for a number of persons who actually want to get married, and many people are already married as well on this call, this is such an area that sometimes gets to be strained, if care is not taken, right? And this area of life as well is actually back to the foundation that even before this marital journey starts, I must be sure that I'm not just on this journey. Now let me take you back to the analogy I shared about the bus and the people in the bus. So this is actually what happens. One of the people in the bus will actually come into the front row to continue to drive with you. That person is the person who becomes your soulmate, and that's your marital partner, right? So this person is not just a person who is just based on likes alone, which is great, but there's so much connection, some more, right? It's about where we are driving together. We're driving to a similar destination. So my wife is not driving here and I'm driving the opposite direction. No, there's going to be lots of friction. We are driving almost to a similar destination. This is the narrative about work, life, academics, social, marital. This is narrative I share, and this is the framework I share that I developed. Right now, let me close. Let me close with this. Let me close with this. Please help mute your mic if your mic is on. Thank you very much. I'm going to close with this. Now, like I shared earlier on, balance or harmony. And this is what I'm sharing with us. I'm sharing harmony. Harmony is what works. Harmony is what I recommend. And like I shared earlier on, balance could be an illusion. Balance may be a far thing to get, maybe a far thing to touch, but you can achieve harmony. Now, we all live on installed capacity. For example, look at a water tank. A water tank, only dispenses their liters of water that it has. It can't dispense what it does not have. And so when it's running down, you have to actually pump up to it so that it can dispense some more. So for example, we are on this kind of a call so that we can build more capacity to deliver on installed capacity. Right? And so every single day we're trying to say, how can we be better leaders? As women, how can we be better entrepreneurs? How can we be better in what we are doing? Because we live and deliver on installed capacity. So what can we do? What can we do? Number one is what I call coaching, right? So, for example, if you are currently experiencing any strain, possibly in the career area of life, or in the marital area of life, or in the mental health area of life, what can you do? I recommend go for coaching, right? If you need to see a career coach, a marriage coach, a mental health coach, and why coaching is very important is that sometimes this is where we are. You are in point A, but you're actually meant to be in point K, for example, but you're still in point A or in point B. But a coach helps you to, break free from where you are to where you ought to be. So, for example, you are doing great in what you're doing now in the businesses you are leading, but perhaps could you imagine that you could even be doing more? Your impact could be greater than what it is right now, but you may not know if, for example, you have not gone for a career coaching before. and you've not been able to actually, evaluate where you are and where you ought to be. Sometimes where we think we need to be is not where we ought to be. Where you ought to be is more, because there's more to you. Or it could even be in any other area, marital constraints, strains, mental health. I recommend going for coaching, right? The second thing I recommend is getting a support system. Yeah, getting a support system. This is very vital because every building you see today is standing on what we call supports. So, for example, a superstructure is, a multi-story structure is not standing on the blocks, but it's standing on what we call structural columns, right? Beams and columns transferring the load to the foundation. And so, let me teach a bit of structure in a minute. So, sometimes we experience collapse, and collapse is not necessarily physical collapse in buildings. Sometimes you are experiencing a crack in an area of life, in a sphere of life. But sometimes you could just begin to check what could be wrong. Why this crack? You are feeling the gap. It's opening up. You're not communicating to your spouse as you ought to. You're feeling the friction with your in-laws, right? Your team members are not responding. You could see it in their passion. It's draining. What can you do? So in structures, there's what is called the life load and the dead load, and every building is meant to be able to carry both. The life load talks about, let me start from the dead load. The dead load talks about the loads of all of the structural element, the load of the column in itself, the load of the beams, the loads of the slab. So the building must be able to carry its own load of itself. The second one is what we call life load. Life load talks about other loads that will be imposed on the building when people start finally using the building. For example, you bring in a furniture, you bring in equipment, you bring in printers, you bring in different things, name it, and you load it in, like just like someone packing into a building, brings in all his furniture. When you weigh them, they carries a whole lot of load. Think about how many floors and everybody's load. Those loads, we call those ones life load. And so a building is meant to be able to carry both load and even excesses without constraint, without any issue. So the same thing we have been with us as humans. We are designed in such a way that there will be several loads. But sometimes some people cave into these loads because their capacity is not enough to withstand the loads. So what can you do? You can get other supports to add to the current support you have. So for example, your spouse is your number one support system, right? Your friends could be part of your support system. Family could be part of your support system. Sometimes we're doing some projects, and I actually need some time away. So for example, my wife and I could just say, oh well, maybe the children should just stay with their grandparents, right? That's a support. Or should they go on a vacation or something? That's a support. Sometimes your colleagues could be a support system, be part of your support system. You can't do everything on your own. You can't know everything on your own. And you reach out to someone who is vast in this area and say, "Hey, I'm working on this. What do you think about this?" That's the so you are adding. You are literally adding the support of that person to your own support. How about accountability partners, right? They're keeping you on check. They're sending you reminders. How about this? Have we started this? Have we signed this MOU? Have we made this proposal, right? They are keeping you on check. So your system, your support system alone may not be enough, but you can borrow support from other people. That works very well, right? Now, this third one is what I call definition and delegation. Now, this is very key because when things are not properly defined, there could be assumptions, and assumption is not the best form of knowledge. So, for example, who does which, right? So, imagine, for example, your business, what are these policies currently on who is to do this, right? Who is to send the invoice? Who is to receive the orders? Who is meant to check on the customer for satisfaction and reviews? Or who is meant to do this? Everything is meant to be automated and defined, right? When that is not done, there will be strain. And so, for example, the bulk of the concerns now come to you. So you have to be the one, you are juggling from these, responding DMs, sending these, attending the meetings. But how about if you can define these structures, putting structures in place for delegations, right? Okay, who can go for you on these? Okay, who can stand in this? And everything is just agreed mutually. This is amazing. When you even bring this to, even the family life, for example, it works as well. So, for example, my wife and I, we've been able to define, how we run the home, right? So we don't have any dependence. So we say, oh, well, great. I bathe the children, right, in the morning. So great. Okay, sometimes when I'm running out of time, I could bathe the children and my wife could add support by dressing them up, right? And then off we go, right? And sometimes, when it even gets to cooking, I mean, this thing is not about stereotypes, right? You can mutually agree your definitions, both on the corporate level and on the personal level. So when it comes to cooking, we found each other's strength. So I'm good in fries, for example. I think I try, right? But my wife is very good and best in other things, other spices and dishes. She's always innovative in bringing in um, new meals, new plans, new what do we call it now? She can combine a whole lot of things together, can combine a lot of ingredients together to form a new healthy nutritious meal. She's skillful in that. I'm not skillful in that. I'm not gifted in that. So what can we do? How can we work on each other's strength? Okay, you are not strong in this. Okay, I can bring in my strength in this. It's not about a stereotype or what the society says that it's a woman in the kitchen, is a man that does this, is a woman that does this. You sit down together with your team, with your families, and define the structures. Mutually agree on it and see what works best for you. Right? Now, I'm going to go to this second to the last one, and then we wrap this up. I call this one automation. Right? I mean, we kind of emphasize this because we are in the digital age, and in this digital age, technology is evolving. But how can we leverage technology, for example, across what we do to be able to do things better? So, for example, think about it. You talk about scheduling, for example. So there are lots of apps I can use to schedule a meeting, to book an appointment, and such that when that booking comes, there's an automatic reply that goes straight away, right? So I don't need to be there. Whether I'm sleeping is gone. Someone tries to buy my book online. Once it's done paying, the book is delivered. I don't need to be want to go send the mail again. Please find attached the book. There's no need for that. Automation. Okay, so I looking at my schedule, I'm getting an invitation, and then I check, okay, am I available now? Okay, great. Once I accept the invitation, I put it in the schedule. I attach reminders to it, 2 days reminder, 1 day reminder, 3 months reminder, 30 minutes reminder, 1 hour reminder. So I will never not miss it because I've automated it. Right? There are several ways technology is helping today to automate. Think about what you do and think about how that can help. Get an automation expert to come in to see what can we automate in our business, what can we automate with what we do, right? So we reduce we reduce the physical touches that reduces the run time, and then things are faster. The turnaround time is faster because automation is in place. Someone once said technology is a good servant, although it's a bad master, right? And I mean, if you don't allow it to master you and you don't get addicted to it, it could be a good master. If you're sending on good errands, right, it could be a good master. You can leverage it across what you do. You could even leverage, okay, we're going to have a family date so day every month. You can leverage it. It's an automated one. So when a meeting is trying to come that day, you already know, oh, this day is booked already. I mean, it's such an automated one. So the brain is great, but technology is helping you to keep you reminded. That's the power of automation. The last one I'm sharing is sacrifice and recreation. I intentional. I put this intentionally as the last point I'm sharing. In strengthening your journey of harmony. Because irrespective of how you try to get along on the journey, sometimes you're driving and you get exhausted. Sometimes I'm driving, and most times I'm driving, I try not to be the only person driving, right? And so when I'm driving, and sometimes I actually feel drowsy driving. I don't know anybody experienced that, right? But once I do, I quickly tell anybody who is with me I'm feeling drowsy, right? So that they can strengthen me. Oh, let's put on a music, or they start talking, we start gisting about something. That's a support system I'm adding to help me at that point. Else, it's not going to be a good story, right? And so there's going to be some form of strain that may still come in, although you are now on a journey of harmony. However, you can reward your sacrifices. So you could be that, anytime you want to do a thing. For example, I even go to the extent that if I'm having a speaking engagement, for example, before accepting, sometimes I reach out to my wife and say, "What do you think? This engagement is coming so day. Are we going to be able to make it?" And then I've reviewed as well, but I need a final consent to see if it's going to be able. Once she gives me a go ahead, and then actually, affirm my participation in whatever knowledge sharing session that is. That's an example of a mutual agreement. When that mutual agreement exists, it may bring sacrifice may come along the way. So she may have to sacrifice, or the children may have to sacrifice, or something else may have to sacrifice that would have been done at that time. However, when that sacrifice is made, there's a repay, there's a reward. So I can say, oh, when we're done with this is the reward for this. You can reward yourself. Now, people talk a whole lot about doing is great, but you need to at some point on the journey stop by on the way, just pull over and just see how you're driving, see what you need to top up, check the engine, raise the bonnet up, try to top up the oil, check up the brake fluid, check the hydraulic fluid, see if you still have some water in the radiator, check all of that. That's a brake you need to be recreated, right? So you are getting in new strength, new energy, right, to get on the motion. Else, it may lead to a breakdown. So there's still a place of recreation. There's a place of rewarding sacrifices, because sacrifices will still come. Sacrifices will still come, but you need to get to reward them, right? And then you're on the journey of harmony. The journey of harmony comes on. The journey of harmony continues. Now, I want to just say this as an addition for a number of us, women leading great corporate institutions, right? Now, all of the things I've shared earlier on were more on you as a person. However, if you lead a team, you know, the only addition I'm going to add, which some of the things I shared could also work for your team, but the addition I'm going to add for a corporate team is that think about the people. Most times, in institutional organizations think more about deliver. This is the KPI. I don't know. I don't want to care how you do it. Just deliver. But if you must achieve harmony, especially even with your workforce and team members, then be concerned about their well-being as well. So just as the way you are thinking more about your total well-being, all-rounded life, you're thinking about your own harmony, think more about the harmony as well. Put up policies in place that helps them to deliver optimally, right? Think about how they can deliver optimally. Drop, open up feedback system, open up anonymous feedback system. Let them share with you what they think can work. Ideate it together with your team. Let them be involved in it. You'll be amazed at their productivity will be boosted, and how you'll be more grateful that you did as a team lead, or the leader in the organization. Right? I'm going to close with this. 3 things why you need to continue to live a life of harmony: time, energy, and momentum. Now, time in the sense that time is limited. Some people say we have time, but time is not an infinite resource. Time is actually defined. It's finite. So what can you do? Maximize time. Be careful of what you use time for. Anytime you say yes to something, remember that you have said no to many other things, right? So there's going to be a lot of things competing for time. But weigh them vis-a-vis this model I shared, talking about this harmony framework, right? Is it aligned to where I'm going to? And be very meticulous about how you use your time. Soon time may be up, but make the best of the time right now. Similar to time is energy. Energy is also not, is not indefinite. Energy level diminishes with time, right? So there's a time where you have such an amount of energy at your disposal, but that energy could be reducing. So how can you best use the current time you have, use it in the best endeavors that will bring the most results, right? We talk about the Pareto principle there. The last one is momentum, right? Because also this, in the sense that because of the fears we have, right? So as women, society says, don't do this, don't do that. And sometimes some of these fears go into us. They go into our subconscious. They affect our self-esteem. They affect our self-worth. And then, you're scared of doing that thing. You're scared of starting that business. You're scared of continuing in that role you are in. You are scared of, taking up that offer to be the lead. You are scared of, because of all of those fears. What do you need to do? All you need to do is that you need to only break the inertia. That initial step that is tying you down. Most times when you look at it, when I'm coaching clients about this, you find out that the fear is actually just an illusion. It was never real. Just like you're touching something, you find out, oh, this thing was actually never there. Once you break the inertia, think about it. As you're driving on this journey, you start a vehicle, you start driving. But once you start driving, it's easier for you to continue accelerating because you actually started driving. You were in motion. Because you were in motion, you can turn the steering. But have you tried turning the steering when the vehicle was turned off? It's difficult. You gain momentum when you are in motion, but you need to break the initial fear. Start it. Start it. Start it as it is. Don't wait for perfection, right? Start it afraid. Do it afraid, yes. And then that's how you gain momentum. These three things, when you add it to your journey of harmony, will bring you increased momentum, will bring increased productivity and efficiency in your journey, right? So I'm going to leave the next 1 minute. This is what I want us to do before we take Q&A. I want you to write some action points you want to take from this session. What stood out for you want to work on, right? Because that's actually the goal of learning. It's not just about the notes of the eye moments. Yeah, the eye moment is great, but what actions do you want to take from this learning, right? I want you to write it down. I'm going to give you 60 seconds. Just make a note of 2, 3, 4 things you want to do after now. Everybody, please get to write something. Put it right on your personal note, your personal journal, your iPad. Write it somewhere you'll be able to have memory of. Write it right now. Don't suspend doing this. Please write it right now. And feel free if you have any question you want me to answer. I don't know how the womenpreneur team want us to do this, but please feel free to put in the chat box so that I can respond to it before we're out of this call. So we have 45 more seconds. I want to just take note of your action point right now. What area do you need to build harmony much more in? What area is actually experiencing the strain? For some people, perhaps you are not able to start a journey of harmony yet, maybe because you have not even found where you're driving to in the first place, and there's nothing motivating you enough to keep doing what you're doing, showing up, building your home, getting great affiliations and acquaintances. Think about it. If that's what you need to do, also note that as well. Where am I actually driving to? Think about it. Think about it. 30 more seconds. Think about it. Twenty more seconds. 20 more seconds. Where are we? 10 more seconds. I want everybody to take note of what action you want to take. Right?
You have gained
5 more
insights
seconds.
and strategies to live life purposefully. Now
Alright,
is the time to
so
take
I'm
actions
just gonna,
in the direction of your learnings. For more products, bookings, and inquiries, please visit www.abrahamowoseni.com.